Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. And so Zia Yusuf's resignation and then return 48 hours later is attracting attention towards Reform UK's attempt at Doge Cuts to the councils they took control of last month. So what is Zia Yusuf's new role within Reform UK and what does he hope to achieve with his effective demotion? But first, for daily news and politics, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So it is still a marvel to me that Reform UK would not only want to replicate the Doge project, which made both Trump and Musk unpopular as a direct result, but that they would even use the same name for a scheme which has been an unmitigated disaster in America. For those who wanted to see Doge cut waste, it saved almost no money at all. For those who wanted vital public services protected, it's left aviation in a more perilous state, people losing out on affordable healthcare, people in Florida not sure whether their house is going to get flattened by a hurricane for the next 6 months. And for those who lost their jobs from the cuts, it is obviously a deeply unpopular project. It's hard to find any identifiable group of voters in America who will see that they've benefited from the Doge cuts. But Reform UK are going all in on copying a foreign political project, because that makes sense for a nativist party, and were proudly boasting of their intention to unleash the Doge upon the councils they took control of last month. Only apparently they're going to call it Doge, Department of Local Government Efficiency, because, you know, grown-ups. The 5 people who were supposed to be leading this questionable scheme posed for photographs. Then 2 days ago, 2 of them left. Zia Yusuf quit Reform UK completely, followed shortly by Nathaniel Freed, who was supposed to carry out the day-to-day running of the British Doge, as far as I can tell anyway. According to a report in the Times, Yusuf had even had some of his normal admin jobs taken away from him so that he could focus more time on the Doge tasks. So Reform UK were serious about this. They'd gone to Kent County Council at the start of the week to begin their operation, even given media interviews in the council chamber despite not being elected councillors. But of course, it's a prerequisite in Reform UK to have no respect for the institutions and democratic systems of the UK. If they have an aim at all, it will surely be the same aim as MAGA in the USA, to abolish all that tiresome democratic accountability and just install a dictator to get stuff done. After the visit, Yusuf made the claim that he'd already found waste in the form of a £350 million contract for the council for recruitment. But this is a lie. There is no such contract. The £350 million represents what councils can spend on recruitment without needing further paperwork. It's a cap which allows councils to recruit temporary staff without expensive red tape every time they do it. I mean, imagine the situation I've been a supply teacher in my time. You get a situation in school, load of teachers ringing sick because, it's really stressful. And they need supply teachers. So they call my agency, they call me, I go in, blah, blah, blah. Councils need to do the same sort of thing as well. They need temporary staff now and then. So you don't want an expensive administrative process for doing it. You sort of know you're going to need temporary staff on a daily basis. So there's like a pot of money. It's like, look, okay, you can spend up to this much before we start asking questions, right? Like the limit on a credit card in some ways. It's not money spent. Kent County Council haven't spent £350 million on recruitment, and they're not going to either. It's just an amount that councils, because this goes beyond Kent County Council, by the way, it's just councils in general, can spend on this specific purpose before more paperwork is needed. So one of two things was possible here, wasn't it? Either Yusuf doesn't understand how public procurement works, and none of the other 4 munchkins with him did either, in which case the team are wholly unsuitable for auditing local government accounts because they literally can't tell the difference between a spending cap and actual spending. They literally cannot read a balance sheet. Or Yusuf and his team did know and were deliberately misinforming the public, in which case they're still unsuitable for leading such a review because they're dishonest. So they're either incompetent or dishonest, possibly both, but they have to be at least one of those 2 things. And this is the sort of thing that this reformed Doge group is going to be up to. Then not only will they not find actual waste, because they don't even understand how to read the contracts, they actually run the risk of making council operations less efficient. because by removing systems which help the council procure services easily, they're just going to raise the cost of doing anything. You know, there was a going back to Yes Minister, a program I grew up in the 80s, which like parodied the way government works. And there was one episode where it was actually talking about a similar situation like this, saying that civil servants weren't allowed to just go out and buy their own paper clips from like petty cash, because that would be giving the junior staff the ability to spend public money, right? So it had to go up this chain, and it was more expensive to do that than to just let them go out and buy paper clips. Whereas that is not now the case. We have a situation now where we have efficient procurement. You know, it's still audited. You can't like fiddle it. It's still audited. But you don't have to go through an expensive administrative process, which would require more staff, which means more wages, just to be able to authorise something that has to happen on a daily basis. And of course, these councils are not exactly flush with funds. So that would just lead to more cuts to public services. Like in the USA, the Doge damage cannot now be quickly reversed, even if Trump wanted to. Permanent damage has been done, which will require a concerted effort and many years to put right. This is what happens when you do not carefully consider your vote. A malignant government, whether national or local, can do damage within a matter of months that can take a decade or more to put right. However, the Doge project ran into an obstacle. At the point at which, Thursday-ish, its two most senior members had gone. But then yesterday, Zia Yusuf announced that he would return. He said he'd received lots of lovely supportive messages, that his faith in the project had been renewed, and that he would keep, he would be taking up a new role, leading the Doge unit. He was already leading the Doge unit. So despite his tweet, what has actually transpired is this. A week ago, Zia Yusuf was the Reform UK party chair, and he was carrying out all the organisation of the local infrastructure, managing local party organisations, stuff like that, campaigns, everything, right? And he was leading the Doge unit. Nathaniel Fried was apparently going to be doing the day-to-day leadership, but Zia Yusuf was the big cheese there. Now he's just leading the Doge unit, which, when we're asking ourselves why Yusuf quit in the first place, inevitably makes me lean towards a clipping of his wings because Farage wasn't entirely happy about something. I'm not sure, because this is a fairly hefty demotion. You know, for all his talk of it being a new role, it's not a new role. You've just lost an old role. Especially when you consider this Doge project is one of smoke and mirrors as well. It's not even a good project. They're not going to find much in the way of actual waste. And the thing about genuine inefficiencies, because they always exist, of course, you can always find some waste, whether in the public or private sector, is you often find that trying to get rid of a small amount of inefficiency often creates a much greater amount elsewhere. You know, again, classic case in that Yes Minister position. You know, junior staff can't procure small attestation because that means like letting them have access to money. So we'll just spend way more money making sure it's a senior person authorising it all. And in the meantime, they're without any paper clips, which granted we don't need these days. And these days procurement is more efficient. Yusuf sounds like he either doesn't understand that or he intends to just make it way more expensive. Council budgets tightly squeezed after over a decade of cuts. Yes, councils do not spend every penny well, but the money is still spent on things they need to spend it on. They don't have a lot of slack. You remove it, and that's going to mean job losses and projects being scrapped, which shrinks the local economy, which means fewer business rates. It will also mean public services being axed, and Reform UK appeal most strongly to those voters who mostly depend on public services. The reason Reform UK have doubled their vote share in a year is by attracting just those people who hate the Tories for trashing public services and aren't impressed with Labour for not restoring them quickly enough. It would seem unwise for Reform UK to go full Tory in local government, as it will hit their ability to gain the confidence of the public for national elections. So you actually wonder if their real plan is to deliberately identify fake excess spending, like the £350 million, doesn't exist, and then blame the national government for blocking their attempts to deal with it at council level. Oh, we found all this waste, and then we're not allowed to remove it. That's ridiculous. Oh, you better elect us into national government so we can sort it out. You know, the sort of thing. Because actually pursuing a Doge programme at the local level seems doomed to failure. So Zia Yusuf has gone from being the party chair, who was organising basically their entire national project, which was undoubtedly a success for him, to working on policy. He says he's going to work on policy, which we know is going to be worthless. and leading the Doge unit, which is at best going to be a smoke and mirrors job that achieves nothing practical, or at worst collapses council budgets and loses the party a lot of credibility. Not entirely sure that was worth coming back to for a supposedly serious person, if I'm honest. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.